this is the first person I've ever seen that's not like a close friend or family member that's listening to it and they are going, wow.
What I loved most about this album is it felt so human.
I don't know, there's something in that song that just, I feel like it still hasn't done what it's got to do.
Hello and welcome to the Eras podcast, where we get into the music and moments that have made your favourite artists who they are today. I'm your host, Abbie McCarthy, and in this episode, I sit down with one of the most powerful and authentic voices in music right now, Brighton singer-songwriter Sam Tompkins. We dive into his debut album, his busking days, and everything in between. I love this chat and hope you do too. Welcome to the Eras podcast, Sam Tompkins.
Hello, how are we? We good?
Yeah. Hey,
that's
come
cool,
on.
innit?
That's it.
Nice.
The welcome that you deserve. How are you?
I'm great, how are you?
Yeah, really good, thank you. How have you been celebrating the release of your debut album? Your top 10 debut album. I hope you've been celebrating in a big way.
I have been. It's been a mixture of, my celebration has been, on the night it came out, I shouted so hard that I lost my voice for a week when I had a tour coming up. So that was great. And then when we found out I got into the charts and the top 10, me and my mates were at the pub and I got quite drunk. And then after that, my celebration has been actually quite reserved because this year has been such a whirlwind for me in so many ways that I've just been able to pause for a bit and just chill. I've been doing festival slots and playing it live, which is my favourite part. Keeping up with social media to a certain degree, as you have to now, but really and truly, yeah, just taking time for myself and appreciating the moment and appreciating the fact that I've made it through and I've got to the point that I never thought I'd get to, you know what I mean? So
yeah, you've taken the moment to be like, I actually did it. I released the debut album.
Correct.
And you feel proud of yourself, I hope.
Massively. Yeah, I mean, I think with albums nowadays and the debut album, it always feels like it's like a little bit away, you know what I mean? So I remember when we finally decided we were going to do it, it still felt like it was 2 years away. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, it's coming out in 2 weeks. I was like, shit. You know what I mean? I was just like,
it's happening.
Yeah. And then when it came out and I remember listening to it, I was staying in a hotel in London. I remember I was listening to it and these people came by and one of them recognised me. I'm like, oh, you're Sam Tompkins. I was like, yeah. And they were like, what are you doing? Why are you listening to music? It's like 1 a.m. And I was like, oh, my debut album just came out, so I'm listening to it. And one of them was really drunk. This girl was really drunk. She was like, let me listen then, I'll be your critic. And I was like, oh, great. She's going to absolutely shit on it. She's going to shit on this piece of work that I've worked my ass off for. And she just had her mouth open like the whole time, like, this is you. What? This is you? And I was like, yeah, this is me. And then, I don't know, that was a moment where I felt true pride because I was like, wow, like, this is the first person I've ever seen that's not like a close friend or family member that's listening to it and they are going, wow. You know what I mean? So I just felt super proud. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's the reaction you want, isn't it? Absolutely. And we're going to chat through the album in proper detail a little bit later on. But as someone that has followed you for years, there are so many other moments that we need to get into as well. So let's start with your origin story. Who would you say is like responsible for your music taste?
Mainly my sister. She really liked that sort of Usher and Chris Brown and Justin Timberlake's first album specifically, like the Beyonce albums of that time and Rihanna, and all of those artists were coming out and just being huge and like hugely successful. And I learned to sing through Usher's like that song Caught Up. Like I'd listen to it all the time.
Damn, yeah.
That's where I get my runs from, like one song, and then Chris Brown with like Yo, and I'm trying to think what, like With You, all of these songs that were just so good from their first couple of albums. And Justin Timberlake, Cry Me a River, and Like I Love You, I think is my favourite pop song of all time. Yeah, I think that's how I like learned how to sing, and that's when I became interested in singing, but I didn't really think about it because I enjoyed football way more at that age.
Oh, so do you think when you were younger you were actually like, yeah, I wouldn't mind being a professional footballer?
Oh yeah, I mean I still wouldn't mind. That'd be class, wouldn't it?
Same. I always live in hope. I'm like, maybe. No.
Maybe there's maybe I've been getting into five-a-side recently. And I've been banging goals, so I'm thinking, maybe there's a scout available. Could be a Jamie Vardy story. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? But
You're thinking of your arc already. Yeah.
It could be crazy. Imagine that. But no, it definitely was my first dream to be a footballer. But I think I got to a certain age where I checked out of football for a little bit, and music became like the forefront of who I was and what I wanted at about 15, I think.
But you've always enjoyed singing, and do you feel like songwriting's always been that thing for you, that like emotional release?
Ever since I discovered it, definitely. I think I loved singing to myself. I didn't really like singing in public, and then yeah, later on when I was like, I would say like 16, I started dabbling with songwriting. It took me maybe as long as maybe until I was 20 before I wrote a song that I was like, oh, like I feel like was it objectively, someone could look at this and be like, this is a moderately good song that has a lot of feeling to it, and that's when I was like, oh yeah, this is what my music is.
So you grew up in Eastbourne, didn't you, before
right.
you moved to Brighton, and that's where you kind of like properly got stuck into the scene there.
That's right.
How was Eastbourne? Like, I wondered, did it have like a small town mentality, or did it make you kind of dream bigger?
So I actually grew up in a little village called Hurstmonceux, which is like just sort of like 25 minutes from Eastbourne. It has like a famous castle there. Very villagey, very rural. A lot of open land, like a bus. There was no buses on Sundays, and the social life was not there. I had friends because I liked skating as well. So like when I was younger, I used to go to the skate park, and that's where I'd spend all my time. But I wouldn't change my childhood for anything because it meant that I was outside a lot. Mm-hmm. And I did like football, and I was able to do that all the time, and skating and stuff. But like when it came to music, like when I remember I first posted my first ever YouTube video of me singing, I think in year 7, so I was about 12. And I remember I came into class, and my teacher had been convinced by my mate to play it on the smart board, and she thought it was great because she's an adult who's like emotionally intelligent, like good for you, and they were all just mocking me. So I remember that being just horrible, and I don't blame them because they were just children, right? So that's all learnt behaviour, and that's all from being, I don't know, from parents or from being from a place where you just think that's just not going to happen for you, mate, so don't bother.
But did you have that mentality? Did you always believe you could do something in music?
Honestly, I felt like in the most up my own arse way, that I think at that moment I believed what they believed. But I just wanted them. I thought I could be like the next Justin Bieber. That was like my aim, because he was from a small place as well. And I thought, oh, that'll YouTube. It's sort of how, like, the way I view it now is sort of like how my mum views social media now, or like a parent views social media now. They're like, you know how parents sometimes be like, oh, you should just like message that person on Instagram. They'll get back to you, like, and it'll be like, I don't know, like Paul McCartney or something like that. just drop him a little message, you'll see it. And it's sort of like that. I just thought I had that naivete where it was sort of like, if I post this right now, it will go massive. Mm-hmm. It didn't, but all my close friends and stuff saw it. So yeah, at that point I believed. I think a few years later I felt like I could be. I felt like I deleted all those videos from like year 7 and stuff from when I was really young. And then I restarted it about year 9, year 10. And by that point, there'd been talent shows at school. And I didn't do them because I just thought people would be nasty, so I didn't do it. But everyone I saw, I was like, I'm better than that guy. So there was like a bit of a chip on my shoulder, but it made me quite... it gave me like a weird self-belief. I was like, I'm better than all these people that were taking the mick out of me, so like, I'll be good.
Yeah.
And then I think at that age, I had this sort of unwavering confidence that it was just going to happen no matter what. And that was I was going to sing and stuff, but I don't think I really truly thought about it properly until I was 16. I don't think that was when I was like, oh, I'm going to do this properly. Yeah,
that's when you had like a proper kind of like fire in your belly as such. Were your family always supportive when you were like, I'm going to pursue music? I think that's what I'm going to do.
They were supportive for sure. But to a point, just like every other family, where it's like like make sure that you are concentrating in school and college and stuff. And I was like skipping out of on college and stuff when I was getting to that age, about 16, 17. I would like miss like 4 days in a row, and then my mum would get called, and then, you know, stuff like that. So I definitely made a bunch of deals at times with my parents, like, I'm gonna do it, you know, in order to do this, but I just really want to do music. And it was the same with the job afterwards. I didn't get, like, music didn't happen for me full time for at least 3 or 4 years after I finished things. So I had to do jobs. I worked as an estate agent.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I worked.
Were you good?
I sold one house.
Okay.
So, and I was there for 3 months before I went, this is shit, I'm leaving. And then, well, I shouldn't say shit, it was not for me. I was not supposed to be an estate agent. I worked at Vodafone as well, and also worked as a decorator, like outside, like a carpenter, sort of external decorator. I would say carpenter's very, very kind word for what I was doing, but I could do things, you know.
Just, you know, a man doing odd jobs.
Yeah, odd jobs.
Doing your best.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing we can confidently say that sets you apart is your voice, and you would have heard this a million times over, but oh my goodness me. It's like the rasp in it, the edge to it, and your technique as well. It's so good. Like, when was the moment you realised that you had that voice, and it was something exceptional?
My brother, for context, was the creative artiste in the family when we were younger, because he loved drama, loved like theatre and stuff, and he would act and stuff in the local plays and stuff. And I think both my parents sat there, thought that's what he's going to do. He actually went a very different path as he got older, and he did became like a maths whiz, and went to uni for mathematics, and now does data analysis in the video game industry, which is really cool. But when I was younger, it was very much like, he's going to do that. And I remember I was on the way to football training with my dad, because he'd always come to football with me. And we were at a roundabout, and I was singing whatever was on the radio. I couldn't tell you what it was. He said, "Oh, I think you can sing better than Jack." And then Jack being my brother. And I was like, "Really? You think so?" And then, yeah, that was it. As soon as he said that, I was like, oh, because my dad never minced his words, never lied to us for the sake of our feelings or anything like that. He wasn't like harsh by any means. He was very soft, like really lovely man. He would never give us false hope or like, you know, he was very honest. Like the fact that he would even say, "Oh, you're better than my other son at this particular thing," like that's quite a big deal to say that, I think. And I really took that to heart in a nice way. And that was it, I think.
And then when do you remember like first like sharing your voice with other people?
I think it was like No, actually, no. The first time I ever sang in front of anyone, there was a talent show at my primary school.
Oh.
And I was 11. And do you remember the song, I think it was called the Ping Pong Song by Enrique Iglesias? Do you know what it feels like loving someone? Do you remember that song?
Oh, yeah. I just wanted you to sing more. It was a ploy.
That one, I sang that. And I think I had sang once in Royal David City for the Nativity play.
Banger though.
When I was, smash, absolute hit. But like, when I would sing that, I would sing like, "Want it," like really quietly, and like not, you couldn't barely hear it. So when I did that song, it was like my chest voice, and people were hearing it. And I remember I won the talent show, and I was so it was around the time that High School Musical had come out.
Oh.
And you know how like that film is basically based around how like uncool it is to sing. Like the whole film is like about like he's the sporty Zac Efron's Troy Bolton is like the sporty guy, and I felt like I felt like I was him.
So you're saying you were Troy.
Yeah, I'm saying I'm Troy. Yeah, I had the same trim and everything. And I thought that it was sort of uncool to sing and to be good at it. So I didn't tell my mum about it when I got home.
Oh.
She didn't. It was like the last day of school sort of thing, and we were just doing a talent show. You know how you do at school, like they just find things to do at the end when there's like nothing else. And we did the talent show, and I won, and I think I got like a packet of sweets or something. And I didn't tell my mum about it because I was too like, oh no, it's not cool. Like she's just gonna think it's, I don't know, weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not that my mum has ever been like, it's not cool to sing, but it's funny how you pick up on little things, like subliminal messaging and things. I don't know. And but that also became a thing within me when I was growing up. I never wanted to sing in front of people I knew, because I think it got it became it evolved and became exaggerated when people were nasty at school. I felt like I really don't like the thought of anyone, good or bad, saying anything to me after I've sang. So I just very much liked YouTube, faceless community. You know, when I got older, like, didn't have to see any of these people, kept it quiet after the first time, didn't tell anyone I was posting videos, and started trying to build, adding everyone on Facebook and messaging people on their channel on YouTube and like all of that, just to sort of grow, but without anyone I knew knowing, sort of thing, apart from my closest friends.
That's so interesting. It's almost easier to perform in front of strangers, because then you don't feel all like self-conscious.
So that's how Busking came about.
Yeah, of course. And also, you used to like literally stop people in their tracks when you were singing. You and your friend Ren,
Yes,
you know, fellow musician, an amazing person. You must have so many like happy memories of that time.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started busking, the way that it started was I couldn't. It was my 16th birthday, and I couldn't afford a hat in the skate shop that I always used to go to in Brighton. And my mates were like, "Oh, why don't you just go sing on the street for the money?" And then I was like, "All right, go on then." And then I did, and
as in just a cappella.
Yeah, I couldn't play the guitar at this point.
Wow.
So I just put the hat down and sang, and then all of a sudden I had like 30 quid or something, and I was like, oh, I'll just go buy the hat. Amazing. And I had my current hat that I already had, and I just took that in and unloaded it onto the table. I was like, can I have that, please? And then the rest is history. After that, it was the first bit of money I'd ever really made. So I'd go every week, taught myself how to play guitar, bought myself an amp, and like over time it became like my thing. And then I met Ren that summer. Because of our age difference, because he's a little bit older than me, Ren, we didn't sort of make it back together until 2017, and then 2018 is when we decided to go busking, and that's when it went crazy.
Yeah, there's this one video of the two of you that I've watched like God knows how many times. It's you two performing outside the church. Ren does Man's World and you do Falling, and it's just like absolutely incredible. And you can see the whole streets full of people.
That time, I remember we said like, this is our last time we're going to busk this summer. So because we'd done a song that came out called Blind Eyed, and that went viral on Unilad and stuff, and then it started picking up on YouTube, and everyone started coming to our pages. It was getting bigger and bigger every week, and it was like a weekly show. It was almost like a residency, you know. And then by the end of it, there was like police at either side of the street, like locking off the street. It was like you couldn't move. That one was absolutely mental. That was like early in the set. Later on, it just became like this. It was mental. Like it really was like a weird time.
Yeah, because some of those videos are on like millions of views.
Yeah, I think that one's
now,
like on
they?
13 million or something now. It's just
like insane.
And that's all like. None of that. We never rehearsed when we were doing that. Like the Blind Eyed one that went viral originally, that was the first time we'd ever played it on the guitar. Yeah. Because what had happened was we were shooting a music video for another song called What Went Wrong. That's out now and everything. And it was like 5 a.m. and we'd been shooting through the night, and we had a £1,000 budget, and like, you know, it was a low budget thing, but we were doing as much as we could. And we were sitting in the morning, like just talking to each other, and we're like, "Oh, do you remember when we used to go busking? Like, we should go do that." And we're like, "Oh, we'll do it now. I'll just go grab the amp." And we didn't. We had the whole like film, like all our guys that were doing the video, and they were like, "Can you go?" There was like 10 of us sleeping in this like tiny flat in Brighton, because that was Ren's old flat. And I was like, Ren was like, "Oh, go and get your equipment and stuff," and they ran back to the flat. Got it, and we were pitching up, and we played Blind Eye for the first time. That's it. That's the take. Wow. And it was just magic. And then it's the same with Earned It and Man's World and Falling and all of these other covers that we did, and Same Old Situation, all these things that we did in that era. It was none of it was like, let's sit down and like figure this out first. We were both like, we were just what's it called, in simpatico, like just fully. It just made sense.
That's amazing. I mean, credit to both of you.
He's the reason though, because he can just play any chord at any time.
He is somebody who, when you watch him, he just like properly lives and breathes music, isn't he?
Yeah,
He's sort of like born to do it. It must have been amazing though, having a friend like that, someone else who's on the come up through music, just to check in with, right?
Well, I think the best thing was about that is that I think, well, with Ren, like, without going into too much detail, I think he really struggled with his health and stuff for years before that. So it was quite weird because I was becoming, I think at that age, I was sort of getting to the age that he was when things started going like not so good for him.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really nice that I was getting my come up, but he was also getting his properly, and you know, like I don't know how to explain it. It was really nice to share that with someone and have someone to like talk to about it, because I would have thought for him at that point, I think he thought, you know, this might not happen for me now, and I think he'd like sort of said, you know, like sort of accepted that might be a reality. So I think like being able to be part of the reason where he is today, not even close to the reason, but somewhat part of his journey is one of my proudest achievements, because he could have, who knows what would have happened if we hadn't figured that out at that time. I'm sure it would have all kicked off for him, but in the sense, I think we built up something really special that summer. I think he would agree with that, you know.
Yeah, sometimes you just need that little bit of
and I needed
support,
it too.
don't you?
Like,
yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know.
It works both ways.
I say the same. Like, without that, I don't know where I would be. I definitely wouldn't have discovered any. All the music that I've written, like out of pure fact, wouldn't have been written because, you know, the butterfly effect, right? Like I wouldn't have got in the room with that person on that day. But, you know, it's all very fortuitous, and yeah. That was one of my favourite. I think that's probably my favourite time in music, is that feeling, because I was working at Vodafone in the summer, and then stuff started happening. Everyone thought we were a duo, so we were trying to like erase that thought, because we didn't purely because we didn't have the material to back up. We had like one song, but I think it was because we both blew up together. It was like, oh, they must be a thing. But and we definitely toyed with the idea, but I think the best thing that we ever did was like do our own thing, because now where we are is so perfect for us, because I think we both really like being at the center of what we're doing.
Yeah, 100%.
And like being in control of what we're doing. I think it would have been interesting us trying to navigate like a proper partnership together.
Yeah.
But like in a beautiful way, I think. But yeah, I think when we did all the busking at that time, neither of us had any idea what it would do for us, because it was literally just like, oh, let's set up and make some money so we can make the money back for the music video we just did, you know.
Yeah.
And we've definitely made that money back now.
Yeah.
I would hope.
Safe to say you've done all right.
Yeah.
You've done all right since then. So that love and support from Ren to kind of, you know, inspire you at the start, and then obviously a few years later it was Justin Bieber showing you love and support, which is just like, you're going to have to talk to us about that, because how does that happen? Like, he's literally one of the biggest artists in the world.
I bought myself a one of those vlogging cameras that YouTubers use, and I started propping it up and like doing these lo-fi covers of things. I did like one of Halo, and I did one of, I want to say Halo was the biggest one at the time, so I did one of Halo by Beyonce, and I don't know what one of those videos of that time caught his attention, but it caught Justin's attention, and he followed me. And I remember I woke up at 6 a.m. and I went on Instagram and TikTok, and you know, that's literally what I do. Sometimes I just wake up and just go, I'm scrolling down on TikTok, and I see user 675432110 blah 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 has commented, JB followed you on Instagram, and I thought, nah, that's bullshit, but I'm gonna check anyway. And I went onto Instagram and I checked my following list, and I was my followers list, and I was like, what? Like,
yeah, what sound did you let out? Was it just
it was like
yelp?
oh my god I was like running around the house naked, because I was still asleep. I was still like sleepy, so like, not to give you too much information, but I sleep naked, and I was running around just letting it all hang out, and I was like, oh my god, he's following me, I can't believe it. That whole day I was just like, oh, I don't know what to do. That morning I was like, hey bro, I was like, thanks for the follow, such a huge fan. And he said, you have a gift or something like that, and something like that. And I was like, it was like a movie moment. It was the best thing that I think I think at that point, I think even now, like that feeling, I don't think I've matched it yet. That was really cool because that's someone I've like always loved and always thought was really cool and always saw myself a little bit in. And yeah, and then after that I like sort of messaged him every now and then when I had the courage, and I was like, there was probably quite a few messages that I unsent. I was like, oh no, that's not cool enough, I got to send another one. Like all that just like getting in my head. And then I released a song called Whole, and he just loved it, and he posted like, I want to say like a minute worth of the video saying everyone go listen to this song on his Insta story. Amazing. And I remember I was at the pub and I got a call, and I was pretty pissed because I was celebrating the fact he'd even just shared me.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And then like I'd given him my number because he'd asked for it, but I thought he probably won't call me. Later on that day I was at the pub and he called me and he was like, oh, this is my favorite song. I love what you're doing, and like if you ever need any help or anything, like you just let me know. Like I really, really love what you're doing. And I was just like, oh, this is insane. Like I was trying not to like lose my fucking mind like the whole time, and I was also kind of steaming. So yeah, and then a couple months later I went to LA, and I messaged him. I was like, hey man, I'm in LA. Like, do you want to hang out? And he didn't get back to me for a couple of days, and I was like, oh, okay, it won't happen. Like, that's cool.
It was
that's
going
fine.
well, but you know.
That's fine. And then I got a message saying, I'm just out of town. I'll hit you on Monday. And then I think this is such a funny story, but I woke up on the Monday and I was like jet lagged, and I got a call and it was him, and it was FaceTime. So he was like, hey man, do you wanna what did he say? He said like, hey man, how are you feeling? I was like, oh, I'm feeling pretty jet lagged and stuff. And like by this point we'd had enough conversation over the phone, over text, for him to know like how much of a big deal it was that we were becoming friends to me. Mm-hmm. And he had this like sort of cheeky grin on his face. He was like, oh, I guess if you're jet lagged you won't want to go to breakfast or anything this morning with me. with this cheeky like sort of like smile where he just knew that he was lightening up my life. And I was like, oh no, man, like, yeah, I can go. I can be there in 20 minutes.
I'm on my way.
I was 20 minutes. And I go up and I knock on my manager's door because we're sharing an Airbnb. I'm like, Nim. My manager's called Nim. I'm like, Nim. And he's like, I'm going through the door. He's like, whoa. It's like really early in the morning. He's like, what is it? And I was like, Justin's asked me to go to breakfast. Like, oh, that's so sick. Like, I need to go. And he's like, okay. He gets up and he's in his boxes and he goes into his wallet and he pulls out $40 and he goes, here you go. You need cash. And I was like, $40.
I was like, where were you going with Justin Bieber? Somewhere real fancy.
$41 in it from the wallet. I was like, it's so sweet. And then I gave him a hug. I was like, I'm gonna go now. And I hadn't even washed or anything. I was just so excited. He was like, you need to go, mate. He like sniffed me and he was like, nah, you need to get in the fucking shower, bro.
At least a quick one.
a quick shower. And then I had a shower and then he put me in we got like an exec Uber and stuff and like sent me off. So I roll up and I get there and then I was like standing there for like 10-15 minutes before he pulled up. And 10 minutes in, the people at the doors at the place we were at, they were like, are you good, bro? Like, what are you doing here? Oh, I was like, I'm just waiting for my mate. Like,
and they were like, of course you are.
I hadn't had a trim or anything, so I think I looked a little bit scruffy. Sometimes when my beard grows out, like, and I haven't trimmed it, like, it can grow up here and stuff, and it looked a bit like, I was thinking, oh, shit, they probably think I'm, like, a bit of a dodgy bloke here. And then he pulls up, and then they see it's Justin. He's like, oh, hey, man. And it comes to dap me up, and I looked at the guy, I was like, yeah. And then, like,
told you I was waiting for my mate, and my mate's Justin Bieber.
Yeah. And then we went inside, and then at first I was super nervous. I was like trying to like listen to everything he said because I just thought this is it. This is the only time we're gonna hang out. So I just want to take in the moment. And then he and then we were eating breakfast, and I was like, oh, so what are you working on at the moment? He was like, oh, I'm just making music every now and then. Like we just had it was just after Justice came out, so I think he was just in a creative spot, but he wasn't like particularly working on anything particular, at least I don't think. And he was like, at the end, and we really hit it off. We'd like laughed a lot, and I was getting a lot less shy. And then he did that thing again where he was like, he knew that I would just wanted to carry on hanging out, and he's like, I'm going to the studio right now. I don't suppose you'd want to come. And I was like,
I'm good, thanks.
Oh, I was like, no, I've got to check my calendar. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, it was like that. And then we spent the whole day together. We went to church in the evening together, and that's the closest I've ever got to someone so quick. We just clicked, and then after that, it was just really good pals. He's just had a kid. Really pleased for him.
That's amazing, isn't it? You felt that connection so like instantly, like kindred spirits almost.
Yeah, I feel like it was more like we're both like really sensitive, and like we have a lot to say, and like we're quite open, and I'm willing to speak about stuff when I don't know. I don't know what it was. I just think we just got each other, and then we just became friends, and then And then he invited me on stage once in Norway, and that was crazy.
Yeah, I remember seeing the video for that.
That was nuts.
What song was it you did together? Love Yourself, wasn't
Love
it?
Yourself, because I'd sent him a video of me singing it on the street that day, because I was supporting him, and I sent him, I was like, oh, look, man, look how full circle this is. And then he didn't tell anyone, not anyone on his team or anything. He just told everyone, like, make sure Sam's side stage. And then I heard my name, and I was like, sorry, what?
What, we're going to sing together
didn't
now?
Didn't have any in-ears, didn't have anything.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
What an experience, though.
Yeah,
like,
they felt like a virtual reality experience.
Yeah. So many like beautiful interactions with your hero. When they say don't meet your heroes, I mean, I do if they're Justin Bieber.
Yeah, and also like, you know, if there's anything I want more than anything is for people to know that who have supported him and, you know, and seen his whole life sort of unfold. Like, you have definitely put your time and sometimes money, if you're going to shows and whatever, you put it into the right person, because he's a very, very good person, very kind. And anyone who meets him and knows him and has hung out with him or spent even a minute of time with him and his friends will be able to tell you that he really is a very well-adjusted, like, special person that really deeply cares for those he loves. So it is really nice. Yeah,
he sounds like he's a real one. I've never had the pleasure of meeting him, but the music industry is actually quite small, isn't it, when you get into it? And I've had, you know, friends who've met him and only ever heard just amazing things, which is so nice. Yeah. Did he give you any advice? Obviously, he's been in the business for quite a few years at this point. He's
given me loads of advice. I think his main one that he would always say is make sure that you're doing what, like, you're actually... Make sure you're making the music that you really want to do. I remember we had a meeting. I had a meeting in LA once, and it was the first time we'd hung out. And I was leaving early from LA because I felt homesick. And I was like, oh, I'm going to meet this person. Maybe we could hang out before my flight. And he couldn't, so he just came to my meeting. And it was like it was like a meeting with like the I think it was like the head of Republic at the time, so it was like someone I was trying to really impress.
Yeah.
And she'd never met him before, and he just comes like walking through the Beverly Hills Hotel and sits down next to us, and he's like, hey guys. And he like he spoke to her for a lengthy period of time, but like he just kept on reinforcing like he's gonna be a star, so like whatever he wants to do, you should let him do, that sort of thing. It was cool. Like,
that's amazing.
But that's sort of the sort of person he is. You know, where he felt like I think he really cares for artists coming up because of his own experiences and stuff. I don't know the intricacies of those, but I can imagine it wasn't easy for him to navigate this industry as a young child. So, and surely being told you should sound like this and do this. So I think he's very protective over artists' sort of artistic integrity. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so nice.
So I think that's the main thing I've learned, is that I'm. You know, if I want to do R&B music, I should do R&B music. You know what I mean? Or if I want to do this, I should do this.
So some of the music he would have got into would have been on your EP, Who Do You Pray To? Right, that kind of era. So what do you remember now, like, reflecting back on that time? Because that was like your first sort of like collection of songs, right? Yeah,
well, it was the first time I'd put a project together, and I was like, oh yeah, this is what I am and how I want to do it. Who Do You Pray To When You Don't Believe in God is the first song that I wrote for that project, and I think I wrote it sort of angrily searching for purpose in my life, and thinking like I don't have anything that I believe in at this point, or, you know, I'm not really a religious person or a spiritual person, and I see so much hope in that, but I just can't get my head around it or believe in it. So I was searching for purpose, and I think when I was writing that, I lost my granddad, my papa. That's what my song Bloodline's about.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I was digging through like a lot of emotions through my childhood, and one of them was my dad's battle with mental health when I was a kid, and that's where the song "Hero" comes from. And I think in that time, and like my dad was quite a religious man. I had quite a few conversations with him, and I think it opened me up to it. I think I resented a lot of things in a way, in a like sort of naive, sort of childlike way. I was like, nah, that can't be real. It's not. I've never experienced anything like that, so like it's nothing that doesn't affect me. But I think I think at that age I was really, when I lost my granddad, and I started like searching for things, because I just looked at my mum and I thought, you just lost your dad, that sucks. And I was just so upset about it. She lost both her parents, and I don't know, I just felt like one day I'm going to get to that myself, and I'm going to experience these things, and I'm going to want some sort of hope that there's something else out there for those people, for peace, for those people that I'm going to inevitably lose in my life, And Justin was a part of that as well. And speaking to him about it really like helped me compartmentalize it. But yeah, that was a really important time of my life. I think I was becoming the person I am now at that point.
What would you say your relationship is now with like spirituality? Since you've gone through grief, do you feel like you believe in something, or is it more like you can imagine them watching over you, or the energy, or like how does it translate to you?
I don't particularly think, and I mean this in the nicest way possible. Like, and I think a lot of Christians would agree with me. I don't particularly believe there is this big bloke in the sky that's calling the shots, but I think a lot of it is metaphorical anyway, and symbolic for me at least. I think there is something out there that is helping me just like compartmentalize my feelings. And some people could say that that's just my, that's my emotions, and that's me and my mind sort of figuring out, and chemicals and stuff in your brain figuring out how things, all this like bullshit. But like for me, there's just something out there that makes this life feel, life is too intricate for me to understand it. So for my way to understand it and rationalize it is that there is something out there that loves me, because I'm in a position where I'm really blessed and I'm living out my dream. And I can't picture that this is all just luck. And there's got to be, for me, it just has to be something or someone like looking out for me. And all these obstacles I've faced in my life, I feel like they're one, tests of character, but also I think they're part of life, and I think they help me become the next version of myself that's going to be good and help others. So I think that's my job, is to help others.
Yeah, totally.
So I don't. So when someone says like, what is your relationship? I don't really know. Like it's sort of, it just feels ingrained in me now. I don't really think about it. I just feel like, when something good happens, I'm like, oh, cool. This is the next stage, and I don't know. It's weird.
I love what you said though. Like your job is to help people, because your music's always been, from a really real place, and I think that's why it's connected with people so deeply. We've obviously spoke about you sharing it on YouTube, and then obviously TikTok later on, and some of these videos have really blown up. And I sort of wanted to ask you, with hindsight, would you choose blowing up, like going viral overnight, or grinding it out for years? Because you've kind of done both, right? You've had a couple of moments, but you'd actually been working at it for years. You were hungry, and when that moment could happen, you capitalized on it.
Yeah, no, I think about that a lot, and it's true. Like I've obviously had the talking to the moon thing, and that eventually became what it became. But like other than that, I've never had like of my own songs, like I've never had like a hit song. You know what I mean? That's gone like absolute. Like I've had like Lose It All had a lot of virality. It didn't end up being like a world-beating song, and that's okay to me, because I can sell shows that would equate to someone who has done that. Like I did the Hammersmith Apollo show last year, and that's 5,000 people sold out, and I hadn't even got a Radio 1 playlist yet. I still haven't. And like some people have got that and some people don't. And I would choose mine because I've been able to effectively build a community of people that really care about who I am, most importantly. Even before music, they just care about me. Like when my father passed last year, the biggest thing that shocked me to my core was the amount of check-ins I got from strangers. Like, I just read your post, or even like 3, 4, 5 months later, like, hey, just checking in just to see how you're feeling at the moment. And like sometimes some people could say, oh, that's quite triggering, but for me it's like, come on, like these people really care about me, and they're just here for me. So I would choose my arc over anybody's, because it's never gone like this. It's always just slowly gone up. And I've had virality, and I've had those instant gratificational things that come, but I have faith that one of my songs, even if it's already out right now, it's going to take off at one point, and I'll have that big moment that gets me to the next stage. But you know, I'm happy if it doesn't, because whatever I've been doing has been working, even if it's been like a slow burner. Like it has like slowly grown, and I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, you should be. You've clearly built a really special community who will have been listening to your debut album, which we've got to talk about. I've been listening to it loads, so I really want to chat about this in depth. Let's begin with the title, Hi, My Name is Insecure. I love the fact that you just owned it. You've plastered it all over the front.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the point. Is I don't know if have you ever seen the film 8 Mile?
Yes.
The Eminem film.
Yeah.
There's this beautiful bit at the end, the rap battle bit scene, and the whole way through the film, like Eminem's character's like really got stage fright, doesn't want to, can't spit on stage and can't like rap or whatever, and he comes up against his opponent, and by the end of it, he knows exactly what his opponent's about to insult him with and what he's about to say to him, and he basically uses his first verse to say everything, and that guy just gives up because he has nothing when it comes to his verse, and that's kind of what this album's about, is sort of taking back that power. You know, when you put yourself online and show yourself to the world and like bare all in your music, a lot of people will poke holes through you with things, and I felt like if I said I was insecure straight off the bat, instead of saying Hi, My Name is Sam Tompkins as a debut album, and called it Hi, My Name is Insecure, I think it speaks to it just feels like it empowers me a little bit, and I felt like a lot less scared to release an album when I'd taken that much charge of my destiny in a way, you know?
Yeah.
So
obviously, as a performer and a confident stage presence, people wouldn't necessarily think that you were, you know, insecure or introverted. But is that how you'd say you are a bit more day to day?
Yeah, I mean, I love hanging out with my friends, but new social situations I find really difficult. Meeting anyone new, and I've struggled with my own body image and stuff. I have since I was younger, and often suffer with like imposter syndrome and stuff like that. So I'm like quite an insecure person. I'm sometimes insecure in relationships. You know, I'm a human being, but that's what this album is about. And I feel like actually, whilst writing it, I conquered a lot of that internally. And I used to like hate spending any time on my own. Now I feel like really refreshed at home on my own, and it's funny, like this. I think this album sort of took me to a place where I feel a lot less insecure by the time it came out. But yeah.
That's great. It did its job.
Yeah.
What I loved most about this album is it felt so human, like
Thank
realness and authenticity right at the centre of it. Like I felt like I knew you almost from listening from top to bottom.
That's awesome.
And that's like such an incredible thing, isn't it? That you have made something that you haven't compromised on at all.
Thank you. The album, I think I wrote like 250 songs for it. Yeah, wow. I know. It's a lot. It sounds like it is a lot. And but weirdly whittling it down to that 16 that you see on the project is actually it was actually a lot easier than you'd expect, because the songs that came out or were on the album, they just felt like they meshed together and coincided with each other, and just it made sense. And yeah, it is. That's a really nice thing that you said, that it's human. It does. I think it speaks to a very human experience, especially of a man at my age, where you're, you know, I'm 27 now. When I started writing it, I was, I think, 24. a lot changes in that time.
Yeah, hugely.
From 24 to 27, and a lot changed for me in my personal life in that time. And I think that album, speaks to that experience a lot. So.
I'll start by flagging my favourite song.
Okay.
Thank God You Talk to Me, which obviously is about meeting your partner, Lily. I mean, that is such a beautiful snapshot of time. This is one to play the kids and the grandkids if that happens in the future. That must be so nice.
I reckon that song won her over, to be fair. No,
played a blinder there, didn't you?
I did. Generational. No, whenever I sing it, I take myself back to that time when I was just, when you just first meet your partner and you're just learning everything about them. And I love that song so much. I'm so glad you said that.
What's your favourite?
It's that for personal reasons. I have to say that, but also I really like the song "All My Everything" and "More Than Me," but I think my favourite is "Lose It All." It's just I don't know. There's something in that song that just I feel like it still hasn't done what it's got to do. I think it will keep growing, that song.
It's also got my favourite lyric on there. When you look at me in my eyes, all I can see is purpose. Like, wow, come on. When you wrote that, you must have been like,
I was smoking for sure that day. That was crazy. I wrote that with my friends Corey and Risk, and we hadn't met each other before that day, and then we just made that song.
That's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, we've only worked together like a few times since. We really need to make more together, us three. But yeah, no, I love that song.
Yeah, it feels very timeless.
And it also, I feel like I love it as well because when I'd written that, I was like, oh right, I'm writing an album, because it just didn't feel like it fit on any other sort of project, just felt different.
So that almost informed the sound of the album, maybe?
Well, yeah, but then I think you listen to the album and it actually hasn't, because it's like it's a ballad. There's only a couple of piano ballads on it. The rest of them, some of the production on the record is like really in your face, loud stuff.
I was quite surprised actually, in a great way, about like how musically diverse it was. Like you say, obviously you've got the ballad moments, but then like so quite like big, heavy production.
Yeah, I think I just didn't want to be... When you go to a festival, right, as an artist, and all you've got is ballads, for me, whenever I've gone and done that, I feel like I'm missing an energy somehow. Like some people, it's like nice to make people feel like somber and stuff. Mm-hmm. But there's songs like Die For Someone on this project, or More Than Me, or... I'm trying to think of another one. Or All My Everything, where there's like more rhythm to it, and I feel like people can really bop their heads to it. And I think that's something that I want for my live sets, so that's why the songs sound the way they do.
Yeah. And
also, I didn't want to just make an album full of ballads for this first one. I wanted to test the boundaries of what I could experiment with whilst staying in my realm and staying in my own universe. And I don't know what the next project will sound like. I
want to pick out a few more songs, because I know that the fans watching and listening this will love to hear like your take on it. Numb is such a powerful song, isn't it? Speaking out about male mental health. Feels like this is one for people to just scream out a little bit when they need an escape. Do you remember how that one came together?
It started off, we wanted to make a song like Yellow by Coldplay.
Oh, okay.
Which is quite strange. It very much changed very quickly. And I discovered this thing a couple of days before, where if you cut like a little line of sponge, like from a kitchen sponge, and you intertwine it around at the bottom of the bridge of the guitar, it sort of muffles the sound.
Oh yeah.
So I started strumming the guitar, and it just sounded so sick. And I told him what I do with like when I'm writing songs is I put the guitar chords down, or whatever chords, and then I go on the mic and I whack loads of reverb on, and I just like sing melodies and stuff, and I like changed it to like 6 different keys, and then I finally came up with the whole verse and chorus section of Numb. And then as soon as I sang the melody, there was like no lyrics, but I was like, oh, this is it. And yeah, I feel like Numb was like one of those moments where I felt really, I don't know, sometimes when you're writing, you don't really realise until after, when the whole song's done. But it was like I hadn't even written a lyric yet, and I was like, oh, this is cool, and I know what it's going to be about, and I can visualise it. And yeah, Numb was really special to make.
And See Me is one I think obviously lots of people will resonate with. I definitely did, which is about your experience with body dysmorphia, right? Do you feel like this was like an important one for you to write in a way to almost sort of acknowledge those feelings and try and let go as well?
Yeah, for sure. So I had a life coaching session, and we were talking about how I felt about myself, and I'd never really done that with anyone, or talked about my feelings about my body with anybody. And we sort of pinpointed this time where, in my childhood, where I won't talk about the experience, but something happened and someone said something that I was supposed to be able to trust, like an adult in my life, not in my close periphery, but at school there was a teacher basically that had made a nasty comment, and it really stuck with me. And you know, when you're a kid, like, you can just have one person say one thing and it can just last you forever.
Totally, yeah.
And I spoke about it and I was really upset. I was like quite tearful, and I was talking about how it made me feel. And she said, you know, you should write a letter to that person, that obviously not to send it, but to write how you feel. It's a good exercise. Instead, I wrote this song. I wrote See Me. I wrote the chorus. And then I had a session with the person with Risk who produced Lose It All. I had a session with him. And my girlfriend actually came because I was just recording the vocals originally for the song Almost Killed Me that's on this album. And I wrote, at the end of it, we had like 40 minutes. And I wrote See Me in front of Lily, who was my new partner.
Yeah.
She'd never seen me work before or anything. And she just was in the room. And it was like I was almost admitting all these things to her in real time whilst writing it. I hadn't even spoken to her about it yet. So it was quite, yeah. I mean, yeah, it was actually really beautiful being able to like write something so personal that I was almost accepting for myself for the first time and saying out loud. But my girlfriend was there whilst I was doing it. And it just felt really special. And then, yeah, a couple months later, we got it produced up, and yeah, the rest is history.
Amazing. Obviously, Phones in Heaven was a last-minute addition to the record as well, as a tribute to your dad, of course.
Yeah.
That must have been a very, very hard thing to do.
Yeah, so Phones in Heaven is interesting because it was actually always going to be on the project, but it wasn't going to be a single.
Right.
My next single, so when my dad passed, my next single was actually, before that happened, was going to be the song Dead to Me. And I just thought, nah, that's not really appropriate, is it? I can't really put that out. So I looked through the stuff and I was like, oh, you know, Phones in Heaven's cool. It was never going to be, for me, it never felt like it was a single, but I just felt like after everything had happened and it had to, and I had to be so public about it because I had the tour. And I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get through the tour, so I had to tell people what was going on in my life. So there was sort of a level of understanding of if something happened, I wouldn't get such a horrible backlash as some people. It can happen to some people if, you know, you cancel a tour. I didn't want that. I didn't want to feel like there was a backlash that I was going to have to feel if I wanted to like be like, I actually can't go through this. So it was quite public, and I had to do that. And then when Phones in Heaven came out, that was sort of, I wanted to use that as recognition for what had been going on at that time. But the song was written before my dad had passed, and it was about my friend, and also just the general like that feeling of I mean, at least for me, a lot of young men my age have it, or young people my age have now experienced someone losing someone to suicide quite young. It was more. I wanted a song that spoke about that issue as a whole, and like that hole that it leaves. But it felt fitting after losing my own father. So after that, like now when I'm writing, there's a lot of stuff that's like very much about the specifics of my dad and that whole situation, how it made me feel. So whatever I do next, that's probably where you'll hear the true tributes as such, if that makes sense. But like Phones in Heaven was a tribute, and it was a last edition as a single, and we had to like totally change around the whole, because the album was supposed to be like announced at my Hammersmith show, but again, like I had to push that back. We had so much planned, and then it all had to change because he passed like 2 weeks before that show, so we had to like rejig everything. But I'm really proud of it though. Like I'm really proud of how we got it all together and Phones Never came out and people really resonated with it.
Yeah.
We did a nice stripped back version as well, which felt cool. And
Thank you on behalf of the fans for your,
cheers.
openness and vulnerability, because I was looking actually at the YouTube video of that and the comments in it, like the way it's connected with people. It can be their song now, right? If they're going through pain, which is such an amazing thing. And it feels like you can write about anything really. Like however difficult the feelings might be, as long as it's true to you, and that is a gift.
Thank you. I think the truth is that writing music is sort of like my way of journaling. I do sometimes journal now, but that's basically how I've always made music. This like diary entries. So once I've put it on the page, it's now the world's, the universe's music. It's not mine anymore, and I want to record it. And I have no shame in. I don't really have shame in my emotions. I have shame in plenty of other things, but like when it comes to like how I feel, I think I always think I'm in touch. If I feel like this, then I feel like this. Other people are going to have felt like this before. I'm not the first person to feel like this, So. Once it's been written, if I've gotten past the barrier of being able to even talk about it, then I'm good, and that's when I'm happy to let it be released.
Time Will Fly is beautiful as well, like a letter to your younger self, really, isn't it? Because you've had some struggles in the music industry. It's been one hell of a journey. You sort of touch on the label kind of messing you around. Tell us a bit about the journey, if you can.
Yeah. So I signed a deal to an independent label when I was about 16 or 17, and I was locked into it until I was 20. It's a label that doesn't exist now, and the people don't really work in the industry anymore. It was really, at least to me, it felt like a cash grab because I had to buy myself out of it. Yeah, I was stuck in that deal. They wouldn't let me out. They were forcing me to pay my way out, and I couldn't release music so that another person could find and maybe fund that thing, so I had to wait until I was it's crazy. But also with that came a lot of I guess I became a lot more wise to how this industry works and how people love to promise things, and very rarely they are true. So I very rarely get disappointed in anything now, like with something that comes up. Like just this year I got asked to do something, and it could have been really, really cool and really big, but I just thought, I'll believe it when I see it. And then when it didn't happen, like often so many things don't happen, I literally was just like, I was over it before it even began.
That's so funny. Just take it in your stride almost.
Yeah. Sometimes I get a bit more disappointed than other times, obviously, but like that feeling I think it's really hard and thick in my skin. And also, like, I don't take really any nonsense from any sort of any industry person that I don't fully trust, because I've had it and I've seen it.
And you're sick of it.
But like, I'm lucky now. I've been able to pick a really great team through my manager Nim, my day-to-day Toby's over there. I've got my creative people Morgo and Mitch. They're like my tight team, and then I've got people at the label that I'm really, really close with, and I've been lucky enough to be able to build that team. But that's because I know what a bad team looks like. Yeah. So, yeah.
With that in mind and your years of experience in the industry now, to finish, what would be your advice to any new artists watching this?
Well, to a young person or a young artist listening to this, I'd say my favourite thing to say to anyone is a problem shared is a problem halved. So if you're feeling like you're struggling with something, to share it, whether that's with a page or with a person, will always benefit you, because you might gain a lot of you might gain that support from someone that you need, so you're not alone, or you might write a really good song out of it, or whatever. But the main thing I would say to anyone trying to navigate through the industry, do not look for another person for their approval on what you're doing. If you think it's great, then the chances are it probably is. And in my experience, if every person that you send it to, like every like sort of a label representative or whatever, if they're all going like, it needs work on this, and I don't know about this, if they don't understand it, or that if that's the case, it probably means it's amazing. So just
believe in your own stuff.
Just believe in your own stuff. Like if it's enough to make people sort of think it needs changing, a lot of the time it actually won't. Obviously, listen to people you respect. I'm talking about people who you don't really care for their opinion. If they're saying it needs to be more like this, and you need it, no, this isn't the direct. It probably is the right direction.
I love that.
And I mean that in the nicest way. If someone's hearing this and they're from my label and they think it's about them, it probably isn't about them. It's probably about something. So don't worry. So don't get too upset. But it happens, you know.
Yeah.
As artists, you're always constantly thinking, do I need to change this? Do I need to? If it evokes a feeling in you that makes you get goosebumps when you think about what that could do for someone, do it. Keep it the way it is.
Yeah.
So
thank you so much for
thank
coming
you.
on the podcast, Sam. You're a great artist, but an even more wonderful man.
That's
Sam
very, very
Tompkins,
kind.
everyone.
Thank you.
Woo!
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
I really do think he will be a household name in years to come. Amazing to have Sam Tompkins on the Eras podcast this week. If you enjoyed it, please do rate, review and subscribe so we can get this series out there to more and more music fans. This is a Good Karma production recorded at Metropolis Studios. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll speak to you soon.